OSI is the reference model. The reference model means all of the models should be compatible with the OSI. Let me write here, reference model. This is the reference model. We don't use OSI and OSI protocols in our network practically. We are using the TCP/IP and the protocols of the TCP/IP in our networks, but the TCP/IP is compatible with the OSI, or the OSI is the reference model of the TCP/IP. You will learn about the TCP/IP, but now you know what is the history of the TCP/IP. At the first days, we didn't have the TCP/IP. After that, we in the 1990s, now we have TCP/IP, and finally with another, for example, proprietary networking models, but now we are working in TCP/IP. You know that in internet we are using the TCP/IP because of that the TCP/IP is the most famous networking model in the world. And finally, let me to say that TCP/IP first version is the TCP/IP version 4, and the TCP/IP's second version is the TCP/IP v6. Okay, in this course, first you will learn the TCP/IP v4, about the TCP/IP v4, and after that you will learn about the TCP/IP v6. Not all of them in this video, but in this course, in the CCNA course. Okay, now we can start to talk about the TCP/IP with more detail. First, I'm going to give you one overview about the TCP/IP networking model. After that, we can step by step learn about the detail of the TCP/IP. Alright, in this part of this video, I am going to give you a brief overview about the OSI model and also TCP/IP, its relation to the OSI. In TCP/IP, let me first to talk about the TCP/IP. Look at here. Here we have two types of TCP/IP, original TCP/IP and updated TCP/IP. Both of them are same. I will talk about that. But let me to say that in TCP/IP models, we have for example 4 or 5 layers. Let me to talk about first about this for example TCP/IP updated. All of them are same. You will learn about these functions. Look at here, TCP updated from here to here. As you can see, we have 5 layers or 5 steps. What is the layer? Let me to talk about that. First, you need to understand the concept of the layer, the name of the layers, and also what is the functioning of each layer. Assume that we need to advertise a file from one PC, for example, PC1, okay, to the PC2. Okay, this is the final goal, that sending a file from this PC to the PC2. Okay, this is a networking job, you know it. Okay, how many things should happen there for this goal? Okay, you know that first we need one program in the PC1 and the same program on the PC2 for communicating between between these two programs. Or for example, we can send the data, and after that maybe we we will receive a response. Okay, you know that when we have a program or a software that is working between two systems, we call it protocol. Assume that here we have a protocol that the job of this protocol or the function of this protocol is sending and receiving data. For example, the FTP. We have a protocol. We have many protocols, and you will learn many of this in this course. But let me to say that now I'm going to talk about the FTP, or for example, file transport protocol. This is a protocol we are using it for the sending and also receiving the files. For example, a movie, you want to send a movie from PC1 to PC2 movie file. Okay, because of that, first we need to give this file, the original file, to the protocol that this protocol can send this traffic to the PC2. For example, here the FTP is residing in the PC1, and also FTP is residing in PC2. We need this protocol in these two devices. We can give the for example the file to the FTP. This is the first step. We are giving the file to the FTP. You know that The FTP should communicate, the FTP of PC1 should communicate with the FTP of PC2, okay, that I'm going to send you a file. If the PC2 says that, yes, please send me, I will receive it, and after that, for example, I can give this to the operating system of the PC2, the file sending can be started. Because of that, we need one protocol. This protocol is our application, okay? This is our application that we are using it for sending or receiving the data. We have many applications in the TCP IP networking model. Let me talk about them. For example, we have FTP or we have HTTP. You know HTTP, and you will learn about the HTTP more than this in the future videos. You know that we are using the HTTP for sending and receiving the web page, okay? And this is the job of the HTTP, to sending our request for a web page, and after that receiving or advertising the web page with the HTTP message. You will learn about the HTTP in this course with more detail, and HTTP is the abbreviation of the hypertext transfer, okay, protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, or HTTP. Also, beside of the HTTP, we have many other protocols. For example, we have a protocol, or we call it POP3. With POP3, okay, we are receiving the emails, we are downloading the emails on our computer, or maybe you heard about the SMTP, or simple mail, okay, simple mail transfer protocol. We are using the SMTP for sending the mail from our mail server to the for example, another mail server, and after that with POP3 we can download the emails received in our mail server, okay? We have another for example protocols. The POP3 is the abbreviation of the post office protocol. Let me write here, post office, okay, protocol 3, okay, post office protocol, and then post office protocol 3, for example. We have another protocols or application. These are the applications of the TCP IP model. You need one application according that what are you doing in the network, okay? When you want to send a file, maybe you use FTP or some other protocols like FTP. Or when you want to see a web page, you need to use HTTP, HTTPS, or some other protocols about the web page advertisement or forwarding, okay? When you are talking about, or you are working with the email, you are using the SMTP or POP3 and some other protocols, okay? This is the first thing that we need. Because of that, here we have the first job. This is the first job, and as you can see, we need to do something, some work on the data to finally we can send the data from ourselves to the destination. Let me write here, for example, here we have a PC1, okay, and here we have a PC2, okay? We can send directly data from this PC to the next PC. We need to do something on the data, okay? And in each step, for example, we are adding some data, some information to the original data, and finally, after many tasks, we can send the data to the destination. For example, the first step is giving the data, the original data, to the application. I will talk about the other detail of the application, but for now it's sufficient. After application, for example, after receiving the data, and you know that the application need to send the data. Here we need to do something on the original data. For example, assume that the file that we are advertising is so large, and we can't advertise that file in one for example packet or in one frame. Because of that, we need to segment it. Don't worry that here we have another detail. Now I'm going to only give you some brief explanation about the TCP IP function. Because of that, we need another program in the for example, PC1 to create the data ready for transporting. And that is the, for example, TCP protocol, one of the protocols that is available here. TCP can receive the data from the FTP and segment the data to, for example, 1,000 parts. Okay, and in the PC1, TCP should segment the protocol, the data, to 1,000 parts, and finally the TCP in the destination should receive this 1,000 segment and recreate the original data. Okay, because of that we need TCP in the source and also TCP in the destination. Let me to show you. Look at here, assume that this is our file of our FTP data that we are sending it. You know that this FTP data is the original data plus the FTP information, for example, the information that we need to add to the original data for transferring the data to the destination. And after that, here we have, for example, 100,000 bytes of the data, for example. Okay, you know that we can't send 100,000 bytes of data only in one packet. Because of that, we need to segment it. And this is the job of the protocols of the transport layer. Because of that, we need to give this data to the next protocols, transport protocols. For example, one of them is TCP, another is, for example, UDP. Some protocols, some applications, according to their job, are using the TCP, and some others are using the UDP. You will learn about all of these features, but finally we can say that after application we need another type of protocols. We call them transport protocols. The main function of the transport protocols is, for example, creating or making the data received from the application layer ready for transporting. Okay, you will learn about the detail here. I'm not going to talk about the detail, only we can say that in transport layers we have protocols that these protocols can help us to making ready the files for advertisement. Okay, for example, segmenting the traffic or maybe numbering the traffic. For example, you assume that here we have 100,000 bytes of data and we are creating 1,000 or 100 for example, segment. Look at here, this is the segment 1, the part 1 of data, segment 1, and the size of this segment 1 is 1,000 bytes. Okay, you know that this is the segment 1 of data, and also here we need to assign one segment number, one number to this address. This is the data. Look at here, FTP data, FTP data. After that, here we have a header. In this header, this is the transport header. We need to add, for example, segment number 1, and this is segment 1. After that, again we need to create other segments, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4, until we